10, 9, 8, 7, ignition sequence started. All engines are started. We have ignition, 2, 1, 0. We have a liftoff.
Tonight's not about me. If you've been paying attention, it's about the kids. It's about the future. It's about seeing that they have the same opportunities that someone gave the rest of us. I had about 50 or 60 minutes of response, but I think I'll cut it down because this is sort of the end of the evening, and I have become accustomed to being last, by the way, Greg. I've got a few things I do want to say. This is really about the kids and all of you out there who are willing to dig deep in your pockets. You did it for a good purpose, and it will come back in spades over and over again. Now, Greg, I asked Greg, I said, what do you want me to say, or what would you like me to talk about? He said, Gene, there's a whole generation of young men and young women out there who weren't born when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, or at best, in diapers and knee pants when I made those final steps. So tell them, answer some of those questions that people ask you. What's it feel like? What's it look like? And I'll just pick out two special things that stick with me very, very vividly. And one is when you leave this earth of ours. And let me tell you, and I've got some colleagues out there who have circled this globe, and it is a spectacular experience. 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets, Daddy, every 24 hours. You fly over a river or coastline, a city, a lake, and if you're lucky, you might even get a glimpse of your own hometown. But I've got to tell you that there's two different space programs. One in Earth orbit, where we are maximizing our effort today, and one somewhere else. Leaving the Earth and going, quote, somewhere else, as we had an opportunity to do when we went to the moon, is a technologically different, or philosophically different, and a spiritually different experience. Because as you head on out to the Earth at 25,000, or to the moon at 25,000 miles, and an hour or two get a chance to look back, that Earth that there's a gigantic picture of on that back wall, you look and all of a sudden you're beginning to see something very, very familiar and very, very strange, because that horizon was just slightly curved in orbit when you circle the globe, when you you cross completely around the globe in less than 90 minutes, sort of closes in around upon itself, and you're beginning to see, as I said, something strange and yet something familiar. You're no longer flying over rivers and coastlines and oceans and lakes, but you're beginning to look across the entirety of the planets and the oceans of this place we call home. And I can remember vividly looking at the turquoise blues of the Caribbean across the east coast of the United States, the windswept plains and these gorgeous snow-capped mountains you have out here, into the deep, dark blues of the Pacific near Hawaii. And I could do it without even turning my head, without even, with a single glance. And I began to realize at that point in time that this was going to be different. As you head out to the moon, the Earth gets smaller and smaller and smaller very, very quickly, until the time comes when you can literally hold something up smaller than the palm of your hand, the thumb, and cover up what I call your identity with reality. You can cover up your identity with reality: home, life, love, the past, the future, family, with something smaller than the palm of your hand. You have to come to grips with that. And as you look back, two things I remember very vividly. The Earth, multicolored blues of the oceans and whites of the snow and the clouds, is surrounded by the blackest black. I think some people call it the infinity. the endlessness of space and the endlessness of time. I don't know what the dictionary says about infinity, but I do know that the endlessness of time and the endlessness of space exist, because I saw it with my own eyes. And the Earth, literally, on your way, it turns on an axis you can't see. You're looking at North and South America and from pole to pole. And 12 hours later, you're looking at the other side of the Earth, the other side of the world, and you're no longer going around it. You're headed out in that direction. It rotates on an axis with logic, with purpose, and with beauty. Once I made that imprint in the lunar surface, which is something that I never thought in my life was ever possible, I realized no one could ever take it away from me. But it was the last steps that stick in my mind, because 3 days later, I went up the ladder. Jack got in first, and I looked down at, as I crawled up the ladders, climbed up the ladder, I looked down at my final footprint. And neither of us wanted to leave, and I knew for certain that I was not coming this way again. I knew somebody would, but it wouldn't be me. And I tried to understand the importance, the significance, not of my footprint, but of what we as a generation of human beings had done when Kennedy challenged us to do what most people thought at the time couldn't be done. Challenged us to do what most people back then thought was impossible. I knew we were an extension of technology. People had dreamed for eons and eons of time of going to the stars, and all of a sudden, we had just done it. And it was over, at least for the time being. And I look back at that Earth, and it's overpowering beauty. And the Earth always stayed above. We landed in a valley on the moon that was surrounded by mountains higher than the Grand Canyon is deep. And that Earth stood on top of those mountains in the southwestern sky for the whole 3 days we were there. And I wanted to push the freeze button. A lot of pilots out there, you know what a simulator is. I wanted to stop time. I wanted to try and absorb everything subconsciously that I couldn't absorb consciously. And I couldn't do it. I didn't have that luxury. And I knew what we had done will mean something to future generations. I wasn't sure what. And to this day, 40 years later, I'm still not sure what the real meaning of Apollo is. I'll leave that to those who follow in our footsteps. You know, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Wright brothers, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And we think of the Wright brothers' legacy of the fact that we can fly higher, faster, and further than human beings have ever flown before in their lifetime. The real legacy is the dreams, the inspiration that they inspired in the hearts and minds of all of us who followed in their footsteps. All of us in this room who followed in their footsteps. We're here today because we got a passion for flight, a passion for aviation, a passion for space. And it's that legacy, it's those dreams, it's that inspiration that we indeed have to impart in the minds of all those kids who follow in our footsteps. So I can only say thank you, and I'll take this home with me. I'm not going to leave it here. But I'm not sure I truly deserve it. I'd like to share it with some 300,000-400,000 people who gave me the opportunities that I've had in my lifetime. But I truly do appreciate it, Greg. Don't stop. You're doing a great job, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again. Your commitment to be here, your generosity will certainly pay off in the future. God bless.